Today we're going to check in with some black widow spiders, and a brown widow spider, and a false black widow spider. Hi everybody, Beanmeister22 here, and this video is in response to a couple comments I got regarding how barren these new small black widow habitats are. The comment was essentially, hey, they need something to climb on. You can't have them in a boring place like this. They need some stuff. Well, I mean, everybody needs stuff, unless you're a black widow spider, or a brown widow spider, or a false black widow spider. Then you don't need stuff. All you need is food and water. I've mentioned in previous videos that if a black widow spider or any widow spider has been bred, they can continue to lay egg sacs for life. In our current situation, one of the black widow spiders that we have has not been bred. She doesn't lay any egg sacs. Additionally, the same goes for our current brown widow spider. With that said, our false black widow and our other black widow, they will crank out an egg sac every week, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. That's a lot of spider babies. And we cannot afford to have an egg sac be laid and then hidden out of sight and allowed to hatch. We have had an unexpected hatching in a habitat before, and they just about killed the mother black widow spider. If you remember, we put that in the freezer, spiderlings were killed, adult black widow was revived, problem solved. We were lucky in that case that none of them escaped because the little air and breathing holes in the habitat were perfectly sized to stop them from escaping. Your average habitat will have air holes that are not perfectly sized and that spiderlings can escape through. And if you remember my story about having black widow spiders wandering through the house, unexpectedly, the last thing you want is a hatching where you can have anywhere from 75 to maybe 150 spiderlings disperse through your room or your entire house. So as I explained in my response to the comment I received, a black widow spider does not need a structure to hang webbing from. They can easily climb the plastic walls of these habitats, anchor web, and then suspend themselves from the ceiling or the lid of the habitat. No problem. In these videos, when you see a black widow spider walking across the floor of the habitat, coming up to the wall, and then moving their front legs against that clear wall, it's not that they're trying to climb it and they can't gain traction. It's number one, they are feeling the walls and seeing what their limitations are. But number two, they can see through it and they're not quite sure why they can't get through there. A black widow spider can climb a pane of glass, no problem. They're like mountain climbers. They begin their climb. If they start to slip, they just anchor themselves with web, kind of like Spider-Man, and then they move on from there. So in these habitats, these black widows are hanging upside down on web they slung up there themselves, slinged on web that they put up there themselves, because yes, generally speaking, a widow spider would prefer the high ground. Except looky here, this false black widow is doing some hiding underneath. And really quick, the commenter also made mention about they need places to hide. That's a yes and a no. There are no predators in here, so they don't need a place to hide for that reason. And they're kept on a shelf where there is no bright lights. The only time these things are really lit up is when I'm filming them, like right now. And as you can clearly see, they are not saying, bright light, bright light, bright light, and running away. They have no problem hanging there in the light. So I hope this clears up some common misconceptions that some people may have about black widows. Yes, they may be hiding in the corner under your bed or in your closet, but they don't have to be. They can be right out there in the open. And we have seen that before, and I've showed it on video before. All right, what do you think? Did you learn anything about a black widow spider or a false black widow or even a brown widow spider? And really, it's not that I'm a super big fan of spiders. Spiders creep me the heck out. But as long as they stay on their side of the glass or their side of the plastic, hey, it's perfectly fine. It's like Jurassic Park. As long as those velociraptors are kept contained, everything is cool. Alright, leave your comments in the comments section. As always, thanks for watching.
Beanmeister 22, the most dangerous man on YouTube.